denied the implication of what Mr. Avenatti spells out here, but this is what he spells out here. Quote, this is a letter to the Senate Judiciary Committee. Quote, we are aware of significant evidence of multiple house parties in the Washington, D.C. area during the early 1980s, during which Brett Kavanaugh, Mark Judge, and others would participate in the targeting of women with alcohol/drugs in order to allow a, quote, train of men to subsequently gang rape them. There are multiple witnesses that will corroborate these facts, and each of them must be called to testify publicly. As a starting point, Senate investigators should pose the following questions to Judge Kavanaugh. Number one, did you ever target one or more women for sex or rape at a house party? Did you ever assist Mark Judge or others in doing so? Number two, did you ever attend any house party during which a woman was gang raped or used for sex by multiple men? Number three, did you ever witness a line of men outside a bedroom at any house party where you understood a woman was in the bedroom being raped or taken advantage of? Number four, did you ever participate in any sexual conduct with a woman at a house party whom you understood to be intoxicated or under the influence of drugs? Number five, did you ever communicate with Mark Judge or anyone else about your participation in a, quote, train involving an intoxicated woman? And number six, did you ever object or attempt to prevent one or more men from participating in the rape or taking advantage of a woman at any house party? Please note that we will provide additional evidence relating to the above conduct, both to the committee and the American public, in the coming days. Now, that obviously is a list of questions. But within it is a rather staggering set of allegations. NBC News has not confirmed any of the allegations here, either explicit or implied. Mr. Avenatti has thus far not identified his client. But as you heard there in the piece of this that I just read, he says he has evidence to support these allegations and that evidence will be forthcoming both to the committee and to the public. Mr. Avenatti said today that he represents multiple clients in this matter, most of whom are witnesses that he says will support these allegations, but one of whom he is describing as a victim. Avenatti saying today, quote, warning, my client, Rachel Kavanaugh, has previously done work within the State Department, the U.S. Mint, and the Department of Justice. She has been granted multiple security clearances in the past. The GOP and others better be very careful in trying to suggest that she is not credible. Michael Avenatti now says that this client is about to go public with her claims. He also says that in advance of that, he's willing to explain what exactly her claims are. And so that's the interview that we are about to have. Even in advance of hearing what it is he has to say, though, it is now quite impossible to avoid the fact that the three women who have come forward or are in the process of coming forward with allegations concerning Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh, all three of them, Christine Blasey Ford, Deborah Ramirez this weekend, and now Michael Avenatti's client, all of them say they would like their claims to be subjected to scrutiny by the FBI. If the FBI is responsible for doing background checks on nominees for high office, and they are, all three of these women now say they have information they would like to provide to the FBI for that purpose as it relates to Brett Kavanaugh, so the FBI can assess what these women have to say. And that is something no lawyer would ever advise a client to do if there was any worry at all that the client's story was a lie. We do not know any more about these new allegations than Mr. Avenatti has thus far said publicly, but he's now going to detail them to us live here on the air. That's next. Started tonight sort of without a net, without knowing whether our first interview would actually happen or not. The person we have been hoping to talk to tonight is attorney Michael Avenatti. You may have met him first through his work representing Stormy Daniels and her legal challenges to the president. Mr. Avenatti has exposed the president's personal attorney, Michael Cohen, and the companies that had to admit to paying him millions of dollars. Mr. Avenatti has also worked on reuniting families who were forcibly separated at the border by Trump administration policy. Mr. Avenatti has become part of our national politics now. He's now saying he might run for the White House himself in 2020. Over this weekend, Michael Avenatti said online that he now represents a new client who has something to say about the nomination of Brett Kavanaugh for the Supreme Court. He said, quote, I represent a woman with credible information regarding Judge Kavanaugh and his friend, Mark Judge. Mr. Avenatti told the Senate Judiciary Committee today, quote, "My client is prepared to meet with the FBI forthwith to disclose how she was victimized and what she observed." I will tell you tonight that Brett Kavanaugh has categorically denied having any part in what Mr. Avenatti is describing. Judge Kavanaugh said tonight it was, quote, "totally false and outrageous." An attorney for Brett Kavanaugh's friend Mark Judge tells us tonight that Mr. Judge will not speak publicly at all while Brett Kavanaugh's confirmation is still pending. Before he stopped talking, he said that already that he doesn't want to testify before the Senate. Apparently, the Republican-controlled Senate is fine with that. We have not yet heard back from lawyers for the Senate Judiciary Committee tonight. But I also have to tell you that NBC News has not independently reported out this story. We do not know any more about these still anonymous allegations beyond what Mr. Avenatti has said publicly. But I think we do now have Michael Avenatti in place and ready to take some questions about this now. Joining us now, I think, yes, is Michael Avenatti. Mr. Avenatti, it's nice to see you. Thank you for your time tonight.
Good to see you, Rachel.
So you said online that you are representing a woman with credible information regarding Judge Kavanaugh and Mark Judge. What is the nature of the information that she has about Judge Kavanaugh and his high school classmate?
Well, Rachel, I'm representing one client who I can describe as a witness and victim, as well as additional corroborating witnesses to what she is going to allege publicly within the next 48 hours. As it relates to her particular allegations, we're not going to provide additional information beyond that which is contained within the emails that I exchanged with the Senate Judiciary Committee. But let me say this. This woman, when she does surface, will be found to be 100% credible by the American public. I would not be representing her if I did not believe her. And if anyone has been paying attention over the last 6 to 7 months, they know that I do not traffic in nonsense or rumor. I utilize facts and evidence. And this woman will prove to be credible, and she is believable, and we are hopeful that the committee will launch an FBI investigation forthwith. We have also asked that she be permitted to take a polygraph examination, which she has agreed to do, provided that Brett Kavanaugh does the same. And we have yet to hear back from the committee on a host of issues that I raised over 10 hours ago.
You've described representing her, but also other people in this same matter. The other people who you're representing, other than your client, who I should mention you are not naming at this point, are they people who are witnesses to the behavior that she is going to describe? Is this all one, are the people that you're representing here, is this all about one specific allegation?
No, it's not about one specific allegation. It's a series of allegations. This is a pattern of behavior, Rachel, that took place across many months and many years. And I will say this. We have demanded that Mark Judge be subpoenaed to testify before the committee in public so that the American people can hear Mark Judge answer questions about his close friend, Brett Kavanaugh. So far, those requests have fallen on deaf ears. For some reason, Chairman Grassley and others do not want the American people to hear from Mark Judge. For some reason, Brett Kavanaugh does not want the American people to hear from his close friend, Mark Judge. And I think that should tell people everything they need to know about Mark Judge and what he may say.
Now, you just said a moment ago that you expect your client will go public with these allegations within the next 48 hours. That sounds like you are doing that in advance of the hearing that, as of right now, is still scheduled for Thursday morning. Is that deliberate in terms of trying to make sure that these allegations are in the public eye before that hearing convenes on Thursday morning?
Well, that's one of the factors, absolutely, Rachel, and we've asked the committee to allow her to testify. We've asked the committee to turn this over to the FBI because, to your point earlier in the show, we believe all of these allegations, not just the allegations from my client, not just the allegations from the other clients that I have that are corroborating witnesses, but also Dr. Ford, Ms. Ramirez, and others. All of these allegations should be tested. They should be investigated by the FBI. There should not be a rush to judgment either for or against Brett Kavanaugh. You know, Justice Scalia's seat was kept open for over 400 days, Rachel. There's no reason why the Senate needs to be rushing a vote as it relates to Brett Kavanaugh. This should be a fair and thorough process.
In the email that you sent to the Senate Judiciary Committee, they wrote to you saying you have made claims publicly that you represent a client who has credible information about our nominee. We want to know what those claims are. We will investigate. You then wrote back with a series of questions that you said the committee should pose to Brett Kavanaugh. And those questions are very provocative, and they imply very serious allegations, not just about sexual misconduct, but about what would be serious criminal misconduct. Are you, in fact, and is your client, in fact, going to allege serious criminal behavior here? That is what you are implying in your communication thus far with the committee.
Yes, Rachel, I believe that when these allegations are surfaced within the next 48 hours, there will be no question that Brett Kavanaugh is not fit to sit on the U.S. Supreme Court, and we will ask for a thorough investigation relating to these allegations, as well as allegations of Dr. Ford and others. We understand the seriousness of this. We do not make these allegations lightly, and ultimately, this will be, as in most cases, a fight for credibility, whether people believe Brett Kavanaugh, whether they believe my client, as well as corroborating witnesses, and hopefully whether they believe Mark Judge. We believe it's inexcusable, Rachel. It is inexcusable for Chairman Grassley and others to be covering up the testimony of Mark Judge. They clearly do not want that individual to testify.
Your focus on Mr. Judge, is it about Mr. Judge's own alleged bad behavior, or is there something about Mr. Judge specifically that you feel like is crucial to shedding light on the allegations against Brett Kavanaugh? Mark Judge isn't being nominated for anything. Nobody here is on criminal trial. The issue here is whether or not Mr. Kavanaugh is fit to be on the nation's highest court. What is it about about Mark Judge, who does not want to testify, that's so necessary in terms of getting to the bottom of this as far as you're concerned?
Because Mark Judge and Brett Kavanaugh were effectively, Rachel, joined at the hip for an extended period of time during the years at issue. They participated in various conduct together, which we believe is absolutely disqualifying as it relates to Brett Kavanaugh serving on the U.S. Supreme Court. We believe Mark Judge's testimony is critical. We believe my client's testimony is critical. Ms. Ramirez's testimony is critical, as well as Dr. Ford, as well as additional corroborating witnesses. Admittedly, the committee is not designed to hear from all of these witnesses over the lengthy period of time that it will take to get to the bottom of this. That's why they should use the FBI to properly investigate this. Earlier tonight, Brett Kavanaugh said that he wants to be heard, that he wants a fair process. Well, that's why we have the FBI. He'll have every opportunity to be heard. All of these accusers, all of these witnesses should be heard, especially Mark Judge and my client.
In terms of your client, again, you said that there will be a public airing of what she says happened to her and what she witnessed within the next 48 hours. That would precede the Senate hearing. But Mr. Avenatti, if what you are describing here is criminal behavior, and if this was something that dates to Mr. Kavanaugh's time in high school, depending on what exactly your client is going to be alleging here, if this is a criminal matter, the case could be made that this is something that shouldn't necessarily be litigated through the Senate. This is something that should be handled as a matter of criminal law. Will there be a criminal complaint filed? Is that something that you've addressed with your client already? Will you expect that there will be a law enforcement element to this if this alleged behavior is as serious as you're suggesting?
I think, Rachel, there very well be or may be a criminal complaint made relating to this conduct. We don't believe a statute of limitations would apply to it, and we may very well pursue criminal charges relating to the perpetrators at issue relating to what my client alleges. But again, there should not be a rush for this information to be presented to the committee. there should not be a rush for a vote within the committee or the U.S. Senate relating to Brett Kavanaugh. What is the rush? This is a search for the truth and nothing but the truth. And Brett Kavanaugh should have an opportunity to present his side. My client should have an opportunity to present her side, as well as others. But the bottom line here is this is a search for the truth, period.
Michael Avenatti, who's now representing a client who is making allegations against Judge Brett Kavanaugh. Mr. Avenatti again saying that those allegations will be made by his client herself within the next 48 hours. Thank you for joining us tonight, sir. It's nice to have you here.
Thank you, Rachel.
All right. Much more ahead, including a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee joining us live. Stay with us.